latest dungeon exploration manga you should be reading in 2023. Welcome, fellow manga enthusiasts, to an exciting journey into the realm of dungeon exploration. In this video, we'll be delving into the latest and greatest manga titles that have emerged in 2023, promising epic quests, perilous dungeons, and unforgettable characters.
And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't stop, stop it up.
Number 1. A corporate slave in a world full of dungeons. In present-day Japan, countless dungeons appeared. Heku by Keita, a corporate slave exploited by a black company, goes into Shibuya's dungeon indifferently. But thanks to a rare monster he defeated, he obtained the cheat skill, Greed. As soon as she saw that ability, a super-rich high school girl named Akashiyama Suter offered him a 60 million yen contract to become her personal explorer. Everything's on a whole other level as his life of overwhelming success begins. Number 2. As long as I have the skill, I'll have an easy life even in a world that has been transformed into a dungeon. High school student Boji Nakairo is isolated from the rest of the world due to fierce bullying. One day, however, the world is transformed by the dungeonization phenomenon. In the midst of the chaos, Nakairo awakens the unique skill shop. It was an out-of-the-box skill that allowed him to buy everything from food and daily necessities to unrealistic items. The start of a painful and wacky modern fantasy from Shosukeru. Number 3. A white mage who was exiled after being handed a knife in an SSS-ranked dungeon. Due to the curse of Yggdrasil, he overcame his weak point, lack of magical power, and became the strongest in the world. Ray, a white mage who belongs to a rank adventurer party, is expelled from the party as a useless person who cannot move after using heal once. Only one dagger was handed over. Left alone in the SSS-ranked dungeon, Labyrinth of Yggdrasil, he prepares for death. You're the first human to reach this far. As if being guided by something, Ray meets Norn, a mysterious girl who lives in the lowest level of the dungeon, World Tree. Ray, who obtained infinite magical power, was trained by Norn to survive in this harsh dungeon. Norn, there was something left unfinished. The boy who has become the strongest returns to Earth with only one knife in his hand. The strongest high fantasy begins here. Number 4. A hero returns from another world, becomes an influencer, and earns money in the real world where dungeons have appeared. One day, an ordinary high school student is transferred to another world. He raises his level in the other world, successfully defeats the Demon King, and saves the world. With his strongest status, he decided to return to his own world. However, in the world to which he returns, a new dungeon has appeared. A modern dungeon fantasy where the former hero becomes a warrior, delving into dungeons created in his own world. Number 5. Let's run in on Dungeon Island. One day, Sanada Shiru, who works for a black company, is transported to another world. Using his creation magic, an ability he gained when transported, he opens an inn and is supposed to lead a slow life, but this other world is a little strange. It is a world where women are overwhelmingly dominant, where women do dangerous work in battle, and men are powerless and are protected. The daily life of entertaining the women of this other world begins. Number 6. Dungeon Busters. I am just middle-aged man, but I saved the world because the dungeon appeared in my home garden. Clear all the dungeons. There are 666 of them and 10 years to do it. If not, the only thing that awaits ... is total annihilation. Izo Kazuhiko suddenly finds a mysterious underground space in his yard. When he steps into what turns out to be the very first dungeon in this world, he ends up activating the dungeon system and learns from the mysterious beauty who appears to him, Ake, that the world is doomed to destruction if the 666 total dungeons that will be appearing in this world are not all cleared within 10 years. As countries begin taking measures in response to the dungeons appearing all over the world, Izo seeks out companions together with whom he establishes Dungeon Busters Inc., a company dedicated to clearing all the dungeons in the world. The curtains rise on this dungeon delving epic with overwhelming realism. Number 7. Reborn as a vending machine, I now wander the dungeon. After dying in a traffic accident, I find myself standing near an unfamiliar lake. My body won't move, I can't hear my voice, and when I try to shout in confusion, words that I never expected come out. Get one free with a winner. It seems I've turned into a vending machine. I can only do what actual vending machines can. It's impossible to move by myself, and there's no way for me to have any meaningful conversation. How am I going to survive some fantasy world's dungeon like this? Number 8. Records of the creation of the demon Otherworlders Harem Dungeon. while all of his classmates were transported to another world as heroes. For some reason, he was left out as the dungeon master, and he, Satoshi Shinta, became the world's enemy. As the enemy of humankind, in order to survive and live a pleasant life in another world, he had a big choice to make. Through devilish methods, make his enemies fall and strengthen his dungeon. To violate his enemies or kill them. The curtain raises on Satoshi Shinta's devilish dungeon management. Number 9. Basement Dungeon. Poor brother and sister become the strongest in search of entertainment. Countless dungeons that suddenly appeared all over the world, and the mysterious creatures that live there. The government of each country were making every effort to investigate and manage dungeons. Meanwhile, a new dungeon suddenly appeared in the basement of the Barrow family where Tauka and Haruka, brother and sister living in poverty. They begin to explore this dungeon on their own, looking for treasures and meat that monsters will drop. Number 10. D-Genesis. 3 years since the dungeon appeared. It's been 3 years since dungeons were created. In a world where conquering dungeons has become normal, the corporate slave Yoshimura has an unexpected misfortune. By coincidence, he now ranks number 1 in the world. Longing for a leisurely life, he decides to retire and dive into dungeons, but is swept away by the unknown skill he has acquired and becomes involved in the front line of dungeon exploits. Where will this slow life lead him to tomorrow? Thank you for joining us on this thrilling exploration of the latest dungeon manga in 2023. We hope you've discovered new worlds to immerse yourself in and characters to root for. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow manga enthusiasts.